Hello and welcome back. And everybody, Levi here. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about how a deck that I was one game away from taking apart ended up becoming my favorite deck to play, at least currently. So about a year ago, Lost Caverns of Ixalan came out, and with it, in the Commander product, came a new partner, and that's Francisco Fowl Marauder. I'll read it to you here. It's 1 and a black for a 0/1 bird pirate with flying. He can't block, and when it says whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage to a player, Francisco explores, and it has partner. So for those who don't know, explore means you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a land, it goes into your hand. If it's not a land, you can either leave it on top or put it in your graveyard. Either one that you do, you put a counter on your commander. So what I decided to do was partner Francisco with Breaches to make a Rakdos discard lands deck. The reason I made it a Rakdos discard lands deck is because I didn't want to have green in there. I didn't want to have a green lands deck. It's too basic for me. I wanted to have something a little more unique. So I built the deck, played 5 or 6, 7, 8 games with it, something like that, and it just never really did exactly what I wanted it to do. It was a little too clunky. I couldn't really figure it out, and I was about one game away from taking it apart. I was at a buddy's house, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take this deck apart, but before I do, I'm going to play one more game with it and just see if it works. And luckily, I did that because the deck popped off. I won't go into too much detail, but basically, with Lightning Rig Crew, I was able to tap, untap it, dealing 1 damage to each opponent. It is a pirate, so it procs the Francisco Explore ability. I got like 15 lands in my hand, discarded them all to Seismic Assault, and killed the table. It was the best thing I had done in that deck. It was exactly what I meant it to do, and now I at least could tell that my idea was plausible. It was possible to make this deck actually good. So I tried to edit it a little bit more here and there, edit it, change cards as much as I could to make it more consistent, and then Assassin's Creed came out. And with Assassin's Creed came Mary Reed and Anne Bonny. I'll read it for you. It's 1, a blue, and a red for a 3/3 human assassin pirate with haste. It says tap, draw a card, then discard a card, so it's a nice loot ability, especially with haste. You can do it right away. Also, it says whenever you discard an island, pirate, or vehicle card, you create a tapped treasure token. You might be thinking, you're in a Rakdos deck. Why are you talking about Mary Reed and Anne Bonny? Well, luckily, Francisco has partner, so I can change my partner to include blue, which is what I did. So the Izzet commander with partner that I chose was Crom, Ludovic's Opus. It's a 4/4 for 5 mana. Basically, whenever an opponent casts his or her second spell each turn, you draw a card. So it's just a little bit of extra value in the command zone if I need some more card draw. But the main part about adding Crom was adding blue into the deck. And this was the best thing that ever happened to this deck. Making this a Grixis deck from a Rakdos deck really made this deck fun to play and extremely powerful. I really like how the deck went after I added blue into it. So it has most of the original deck in place from the Rakdos version, but I'm just going to go over some of the blue cards here that I added to the deck to make it really consistent and fun to play. So first off, I was already talking about Mary Reed, so I might as well go over some more of the pirates that helped me out. Stormfleet Sprinter, 1, a blue and a red for a 2/2 human pirate with haste, and he cannot be blocked. So this allows me to every single turn be able to get in unblocked for an explore trigger with my commander. Luckily, a lot of the blue pirates have flying, such as Malcolm Alluring Scoundrel, 1 and a blue for a 2/1 Siren Pirate with flash and flying. Has a really cool ability as well. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you put a chorus counter on it, then you draw a card, discard a card. If there are 4 or more chorus counters on Malcolm, you may cast the discarded card for free. I haven't gotten this to proc too many times, but when you do, it's really nice. Also, just having that flying pirate every single turn, getting those explore triggers are really helpful. Another one that fits the theme completely perfectly, Stormfleet Negotiator, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Siren Pirate with flying. It has parlay, so whenever Stormfleet Negotiator attacks, each player reveals the top card of their library, and for each non-land card revealed this way, I create a map token, and then everybody draws that card. Those map tokens are really helpful later in the game if you happen to get board wiped and you have a bunch of map tokens laying around, or you just have extra mana that you need to explore with your commander. Use those map tokens to help you explore, get more lands in your hand. Hopefully it can help you close out the game. Also threw in Siren Storm Tamer, 1 blue mana for a 1/1 Siren Pirate Wizard with flying, so it fits both the categories I want, a flyer, a pirate, and it is protection. Pay a blue, sacrifice Siren Storm Tamer, and counter target spell or ability that targets you or a creature you control. So if somebody goes to ace my commander, I can counter it with my Siren Storm Tamer. And luckily, you don't have to tap to use that ability, so you can be attacking with the Siren Storm Tamer every single turn to be getting those explore triggers. Another iteration of Malcolm that's absolutely insanely powerful in this deck, Malcolm Kenai Navigator, 2 and a blue for a 2/2 Siren Pirate with flying. It says whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, you create a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage. This paired specifically with Lightning Rig Crew is actually insane value. Since Malcolm, like Francisco, says damage, not combat damage, Lightning Rig Crew pings all 3 of your opponents for 1 damage. That means you create 3 treasures. And the Lightning Rig Crew untaps on pirate casts, so you can possibly be getting that a couple multiple times per turn, getting a ton of treasures. Also, you're attacking with your pirates a lot, so you're just dealing damage naturally through combat. Therefore, you're going to be creating a ton of treasures off this. Now, let's talk about some of the card draw in the deck. First up, probably the best card draw option in the deck, Trade Routes, 1 and a blue for an enchantment. You can pay 1, return target land you control to its owner's hand. That's not the important part. However, I have used it to help me close out the game once. The important part is pay 1, discard a land card from your hand to draw cards. This basically is the exact same thing as Tectonic Reformation. However, it doesn't require the red mana. It's just 1 generic, so it's a lot better. Another crazy synergistic card, Riel the Everwise, 1, a red and a blue for a 0/3 human wizard. She gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery in my graveyard. Also, whenever you discard 1 or more cards for the first time each turn, draw that many cards. So most of the time, Riel is only going to be drawing you 1 extra card per turn because you're going to be cycling or some sort of discard. You're just got usually 1 card at a time. However, there are cards like Path of the Pyromancer that makes this card absolutely bonkers. 4 and a red for a sorcery, discard all the cards in your hand, add red for each card discarded this way, then draw that many cards +1. So what this does is say you have 5 cards in your hand, not including the Path. You cast the Path, discard 5 cards, add 5 red, draw 6 cards off the Path, and then you draw 5 more for the Riel. So you're drawing 11 cards with Riel in play and the Path of the Pyromancer. Just absolutely crazy synergies you can get into like that. This is a pretty common thing. Since you're going through your deck so fast with the Explorers, it's pretty easy to find some of these cards that really help you out, like the Path of the Pyromancer. So in Rakdos, it was a little bit less of a pirate tribal than it is now because there's so many better pirates in blue. So I threw in Kindred Discovery, 3 blue for an enchantment. When it comes into play, you choose a creature type, and whenever a creature you control ETBs or attacks, you draw a card. So just insane card draw, especially since we're in a pirate attacking deck. A new one I added recently that I haven't had too much playtime with yet is Treasure Hunt, 1 and a blue for a sorcery. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card, then put all cards revealed this way into your hand. So the reason I have this in here is because I'm running 42 lands in the deck, so it's entirely likely that there'll be 3, 4, 5 lands in a row on top of our deck. It's not always, but it's possible, especially in a deck with more lands. Being able to reveal cards until you hit a non-land means that if you hit 3 or 4 lands in a row before you hit a non-land, you get to put all those lands in your hand. So it's just a little one shot that could possibly refill your hand with lands. Another one I got, Sword Coast Sailor, 1 and a blue for a legendary enchantment background. Commander creatures you own have whenever this creature attacks a player, if no opponent has more life than that player, it can't be blocked. Considering we want our commander to be getting in for combat damage every single turn, giving it unblockable on an enchantment and not an equipment is really nice. Lastly, here I have Mystic Redaction, 2 and a blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1, and whenever you discard a card, each opponent mills 2 cards. Funnily enough, I very nearly won a game with just this alone. I discarded around 30 cards in a single turn, ended up milling my opponents for like 60 cards or so. They only had like 5 or 6 cards left in their library. I ended up not winning that game, but it was still a really fun thing to watch. Having that little bit of extra value per discard is really nice. So there isn't too much else to talk about this deck that I haven't already said in the last video. If you want to go check out the original Francisco deck, the Rakdos version, I'll leave a link in the description for you if you want to go check that out. Also, I have a link down in the description for the full deck list. Y'all, this deck is extremely fun to play. There's always something to do. As long as you get that opening hand of like your 3 colors and like 1 pirate that you can attack with, you're off to the races. Trust me, when you have like Trade Routes and Brawlin on the field, discarding every land to draw a new land and just pinging your opponents every time, then you have Seismic Assault, throw down your Path of the Pyromancer, discard 5 cards, draw 6 cards, then you play Change of Fortune, draw cards for each card you've discarded this turn after discarding your hand. It's just nuts. You just get so many cards in your hand, you can throw them all away to the Seismic Assault and just blow everything up. It's such a fun deck. I really encourage you guys to try this one out if you're looking for an interesting, unique build. But that is all I have for today for my new Francisco and Crom deck. It is currently my favorite one to play. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Go ahead and leave a like down below and subscribe to see more content like this. But that's all I have for today. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. All right, take care.